Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. We love to explore some really fascinating ideas on this show, and today we're going to be doing a deep dive into Kevin Kelly's book, Out of Control.
It's a classic.
It is a classic, and we actually asked you guys to send us a summary of the book, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, using your summary.
So, Out of Control. We're going to be looking at a lot of the core concepts of this book, and one of the most interesting is this idea that we can learn about the future of technology and business and even AI by looking at natural systems,
Like what?
like a beehive.
Oh, yeah.
A beehive is a really good example of something that Kelly calls a hive mind. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, a hive mind.
So a hive mind is this decentralized system, and that means there's no one in control, but somehow it operates with this crazy efficiency and purpose.
Right, and Kelly uses the beehive to really illustrate that.
Yeah, but my question is, how does that even work? You've got all these bees buzzing around, seemingly with no plan, no leader. It's like, how do they get anything done?
Well, it's interesting because that lack of a leader is actually the key.
Oh, really?
Decisions, they emerge from the interaction of all the individual bees. It's not like there's a queen bee saying, you go do this, you go do that.
So it's like a democracy for bees.
Kind of, yeah. They have their own way of communicating, of course, through complex dances and chemical signals. But the result is that the group as a whole makes decisions that are often much better than any individual bee could make on its own.
That's so cool. I mean, so they're building these elaborate honeycombs, they're finding food, they're even deciding as a group when to move to a new hive, all without a CEO bee telling them what to do.
Exactly. And it's actually more than that. The swarm, it actually gains capabilities that no single bee has.
Give me an example of that.
So an individual bee's memory might only last a few days, right?
Great.
But the hive as a whole, it has this collective memory that spans months or even years.
So it's like they're sharing memories or something.
In a way, yeah, it's like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's what's so powerful about this idea of distributed intelligence.
Yeah.
And it's not just about bees. It has implications for how we think about organizations and technology and even human society.
Okay. So this is fascinating stuff, but how does this apply to us humans? How do we see this hive mind idea playing out in the real world?
Well, let's think about it.
Let's think about it.
How do modern businesses operate?
Okay.
How do they function?
Yeah, how is a business like a beehive?
Exactly. Well, think about a company like Apple.
Okay, Apple.
They focus on design and marketing, but they don't actually manufacture most of their products.
Yeah, that's true.
Instead, they rely on this huge network of suppliers and partners all over the world.
So they're outsourcing, basically.
Exactly. Each of those partners specializes in a different part of the process.
Okay, so instead of trying to do everything themselves, Apple is tapping into the collective intelligence and expertise of this whole network.
Right. And it's actually more efficient that way, too.
So it's like the beehive again. They're delegating tasks based on what each individual, or in this case, each company, is best at.
Exactly. And this is what Kelly calls network economics.
Okay, network economics.
He says it has 4 key features: distributed, decentralized, collaborative, and adaptive.
Those words sound familiar. It's like he's describing the beehive all over again.
Exactly. The principles are the same, whether you're talking about bees or businesses or even technology.
Okay, so we're seeing the parallels between nature and business, but where does technology fit into all of this?
Well, Kelly argues that this same shift from centralized control to distributed systems is happening in technology as well, especially with automation and AI.
Okay, I can see that.
He talks about how early machines were really simple tools that we directly controlled. But then we started developing systems that could kind of self-regulate based on feedback. He calls this cybernetics.
Cybernetics. Okay, give me an example of that.
Sure, one of his examples is from the steel industry. Back in the day, they were having trouble producing sheets of metal with a consistent thickness
Oh, really?
because there were so many variables involved, like the temperature of the metal, the speed of the rollers, the tension, all these things. And the technicians would be constantly trying to adjust things, but it was just a never-ending battle.
So it was like they were trying to micromanage the whole process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working very well.
So what did they do? How did they solve it using the cybernetics thing?
Someone realized that instead of trying to control every single variable, they could just focus on one key factor, the thickness of the sheet.
Okay.
And they could use feedback from sensors to automatically adjust the tension to maintain that thickness.
Interesting.
It was like giving the machine a basic set of rules and letting it figure out the best way to achieve the desired outcome.
So by letting go of that need to control every little detail,
Ah,
they actually got better results.
precisely.
Wow.
And that's a crucial insight as machines become more intelligent. Think about a modern thermostat.
Okay.
You set the desired temperature, and it automatically adjusts the heating or cooling to maintain it.
Yep.
You're not constantly fiddling with the controls. The system is doing it for you based on feedback from the environment.
Right. So it's similar to that steel mill example.
Exactly. Now take that concept and apply it to more complex systems.
It's like artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
I mean, this is where it starts to get a little bit scary, right? Like, are we losing control, or is it more about redefining what control even means?
That's the big question, and it gets to the heart of Kelly's argument. He suggests that we're moving towards a future where machines will be able to learn, adapt, and even make decisions without constant human intervention.
I mean, that's both exciting and terrifying at the same time. It's like we're stepping into this unknown territory.
Absolutely. And Kelly wrote Out of Control before the current AI boom, but his insights are incredibly relevant to what's happening right now. He predicted that we would eventually create machines that could rival or even surpass human intelligence.
And now we're seeing AI being used in everything from self-driving cars to medical diagnosis. It's mind-blowing.
It is. And Kelly doesn't shy away from the potential risks. But he also argues that trying to exert total control over complex systems like AI is ultimately futile and often counterproductive.
So we need to find a new way to relate to these increasingly intelligent machines.
Exactly. A way that acknowledges their growing autonomy while still ensuring that they serve humanity's best interests. And this is where Kelly introduces this concept of coevolution.
Coevolution, what's that?
It's the idea that humans and machines are influencing each other's development.
Uh-huh.
We're not just creating these machines, they're also shaping us, our culture, our way of thinking, even our biology.
That's really making me think. It's like we're all part of this grand dance together.
Exactly. And the steps are constantly changing.
So where do you see this coevolution leading us? Like in the next decade or two, what can we expect?
It's really hard to say for sure because this coevolution, it's not like a straight line. It's more like
The more common,
it's
right?
way more complex. Yeah,
Like that butterfly effect thing, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Kelly actually compares coevolution to chaos theory. That whole idea that a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil can cause a hurricane in Florida?
Yeah.
It's a reminder that small changes can have huge unforeseen consequences. We might think we're in control, but then something unexpected happens and it throws everything off course.
So how are we supposed to make sense of all this? I mean, it's exciting to think about the possibilities, but it's also kind of overwhelming. Like, are we just along for the ride?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Kelly argues that this out-of-controlness, it's not something to be afraid of.
Oh, really?
It's actually a natural progression, even a positive one. He believes that trying to exert total control over complex systems is ultimately futile and often counterproductive.
So instead of trying to hold on tight, we should learn to, like, let go a little.
Exactly. It's about shifting our mindset from domination to collaboration, working with these systems rather than trying to force them to conform to our will.
Okay. I like that.
Think about it like gardening. You can't force a plant to grow in a certain way, but you can create the conditions for it to thrive.
That's a good analogy. But if we're not in total control, what does that mean for us as individuals? Like, how do we navigate this increasingly complex world where the rules are constantly changing?
That's a great question. Kelly encourages us to become lifelong learners,
Oh, I like that.
to be open to new ideas, to embrace experimentation, and to be okay with not having all the answers.
So being comfortable with uncertainty.
Exactly. It's about adapting and evolving alongside these technological and societal shifts.
It's like those bees, again, they're always responding to changes in their environment, finding new food sources, adapting to new threats.
Precisely. And that brings us back to you. What steps can you take to become more comfortable with uncertainty? What skills or knowledge can you develop to thrive in this world of constant change?
These are questions that every listener needs to be thinking about. Kelly's book, Out of Control, it's a call to action in a way. He's urging us to engage with these ideas, to think critically about the role we want to play in shaping the future.
He reminds us that this isn't just some abstract philosophical debate. It's about the choices we make every day, the technologies we embrace, the values we prioritize. It's about recognizing that we're all part of this interconnected system, this global hive mind, whether we realize it or not.
Well, this deep dive has definitely left me feeling both energized and a little bit humbled. It's a reminder that we're living in some really extraordinary times, and the future is ours to shape.
We can't control every detail, but we can certainly influence the direction things are going.
That's a good point.
And that's why I think Out of Control is such an important book to read. Even though it was written a while ago, it's more relevant than ever.
Definitely. So, to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to check out of Control and dive deeper into these ideas yourselves.
It's a challenging book, but ultimately hopeful one.
It's a book that invites us to embrace the complexity and the uncertainty of the world around us.
And to remember that even in the midst of chaos, there's always the potential for something amazing to emerge.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. We hope you've gained some new insights and, more importantly, some new questions to ponder.
And until next time, keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and keep embracing the beautiful chaos of it all.
See ya.